The C8 Chevrolet Corvette and 2020 Toyota Supra are two of the hottest sub-$60,000 sports cars on the market right now. I've been lucky enough to drive them both, and now I'm going to try and answer one simple question. Which is the best? Let's talk about engine performance, on-track handling, on-road comfort, and of course pricing, and then let's see if we can't find ourselves a winner. Let's start by looking under the hood, which is a very different procedure for the front-engine Supra than the mid-engine Corvette. The Supra's traditional layout relies on a 3-liter inline-6 with a single twin-scroll turbo. Yes, basically identical to what you'll find in the BMW Z4. Here in the Supra, it makes an impressive 335 horsepower and 365 pound-feet of torque, directed to the rear wheels exclusively through an 8-speed automatic transmission. That combination is good enough to get the Supra from 0 to 60 in an official 4.1 seconds. But wait until next year for the 2021 model year, and Toyota's bringing a whopping 50 more ponies to the table, upping the Supra to 382 and bringing the 0 to 60 down to 3.9 seconds. Over in the back of the Corvette, you'll find more than twice the displacement, a 6.2-liter naturally aspirated V8 making 490 horsepower and 465 pound-feet of torque connected to an 8-speed dual-clutch transmission. It's been said there's no replacement for displacement, and the output here would seem to back that up. As with the 0 to 60 time, try 3 seconds flat, or just about a full second quicker than the Supra. While that DCT surely helps, acceleration really comes down to grip, horsepower, and weight. With both cars offering rear-wheel drive and both weighing in at about 3,400 pounds, that massive power advantage from the Corvette just can't be beaten. But of course, we'll have to remember that advantage comes at a premium. We'll talk through pricing later, but base price on the 3-liter Supra is about 10 grand cheaper than the Corvette. And as we'll see, in some ways, it's actually better equipped for that price. Now, as much as I love 3-pedal driving, given the choice between automatic and DCT, I'll take the DCT any day of the week. But it's worth noting that this isn't just any slush box in the Toyota. This is the ZF 8-speed auto that's found on many sports cars, including plenty of BMWs, naturally enough, and it's remarkably responsive, so much so that you'd actually struggle to feel the difference. Around town, the Supra is definitely the smoother shift though, easing away from traffic lights and dawdling through town without any distraction whatsoever. That said, the Corvette also does quite well in this environment, lurching occasionally at very low-speed part throttle shifts, but otherwise, it was totally fine when I took it idling down the Las Vegas Strip. On the racetrack, that's a bit of a different story. So let's talk on-track performance. I've done a lot of laps in both of these cars, and the difference, well, it isn't as extreme as you might think. The Corvette, though mid-engine, has clearly been tuned to be welcoming to novice drivers. That isn't to say it's poorly balanced, in fact it's quite neutral. But this isn't the razor-edged exotic killer that I think a lot of people were hoping for when the car went mid-engined. That, I'm sure, is coming when Chevrolet gets cranking on the endless performance variants. As it stands, the C8 with the $5,000 Z51 package, which stiffens up the suspension a fair bit, tends towards understeer by default, but just a bit of trail braking takes care of that, meaning if you know what you're doing out there on the track, you can take advantage of that excellent ABS and you should have no problem getting the nose of this car to the apex. After that, well, get on the power too quickly and that tail will indeed step out, even with the stability control turned on. The various safety systems in the last-gen Corvette were remarkably good at reining in the power but still letting you have fun, and it certainly seems like the new C8 is picking up where they left off. Plus, with an upgraded performance data recorder now offering high-def footage overlaid with all sorts of fun telemetry, the C8 definitely can fill the void as a respectable track day tool. The Supra, meanwhile, is a different beast. It actually does quite well on the track, but it still feels just a little bit reluctant out there. The thing you'll notice first is a lot of body roll, which is discouraging, but when you push the Supra, it actually turns in really nicely. It has terrific overall grip, and with its 50-50 weight balance, it's very nicely poised. Light steering makes it a doddle to hustle around the track for long sessions, and while it took me some time to get used to the feel, I wound up really enjoying my time behind the wheel. If we're talking lap times, there's no doubt the power advantage of the Corvette will win out. Handling too, the Corvette is definitely more sure-footed. But then in my book, neither of these are really hardcore track day toys. Both are intended for street action first. The vast majority of these two cars will never turn a wheel in proper anger, but between the two, the Supra is clearly the one more suited for touring duties. It starts with the relative efficiency figures. The Supra is rated for 24 mpg in the city and 31 on the highway. The Corvette try 15 in the city and 27 on the highway. Yeah, I know nobody's buying these cars for hypermiling, but that's definitely a sign of the different intentions here. The 2020 Supra, like the Mark IV before it, is really meant to be a fast but comfortable tourer. And yes, I know everybody thinks of the bonkers Supras in the Fast and the Furious and Gran Turismo, but those cars were all tuned to be like that. Off the dealership lot, the Supra was very different, a much more subtle thing. That continues in 2020, and between these two cars, the Supra is the far nicer place to be. The new Corvette's interior is busy at best and slightly claustrophobic. The control layout is curious, and while I appreciate a driver-focused interior, literally putting a wall of buttons between the passenger and the infotainment system is a questionable choice for a road-going machine. Materials here are better than we've ever seen in a Corvette before, and fit and finish is genuinely very good, but the overall experience falls short of what's found in the Toyota. That said, it's not all charm inside the Supra. The biggest issue? It's also obviously just a reskinned version of what you'll find in a BMW. If you're a Toyota fan like I am, you'll find yourself oddly disoriented slotting inside the Supra. Also, the dramatically sculpted roof looks fantastic and does give solid headroom, but I lost count of the number of times I bumped my head on the door frame getting in and out. It's also worth noting that you get adaptive suspension as standard on the Supra, and it does a great job of being cost-cutting on the street, though, as I mentioned above, has a little too much roll for my taste on the track. On the Corvette, adding Chevrolet's Magna-Ride suspension will cost you $1,900, and that's on top of the $5,000 you'll need to spend to get the Z51 Performance Package. But if you wait until 2021, that can be a standalone option. We can't wrap this up without talking about price. You can get into a 3-liter Supra for just about $50,000. From there, the only real options are color and whether you want to pay $1,200 for the driver safety package and $2,400 for better speakers and nav. I would definitely pick the first at least, because the notion of spending $50,000 for a street car without adaptive cruise in 2020 feels a little bit crazy. On the Corvette side of things, that $60,000 starting price really is just that, a start. The base Corvette isn't exactly a stripper, but start ticking boxes for performance parts, special colors, interior trim, an engine detail kit, plus other odds and ends, and you can easily find yourself on the wrong end of $80,000. If we compare base model to keep that price delta to a minimum, I confess I'd have a hard time choosing between the two. The Supra is doubtlessly the better equipped and more comfortable of the two, and since I'm an owner of a 91 Toyota MR2, I confess to have a bit of a soft spot for the brand. But really, that just made me feel all the more disoriented when I first sat in the Supra and looked at the Toyota logo on the steering wheel, but then had to reach down and touch an iDrive knob to change the radio station. The Supra's lack of Android Auto is also a real bummer. Then there's the Corvette, which offers far more performance on track and on the road, plus a generally more engaging drive, but at a slight cost of everyday drivability and economy. Plus, there's that oddball interior and exterior styling that I still haven't warmed up to. Not that I'm entirely in love with how the Supra looks, mind you. It's honestly a really tough call because they're both great cars. Were I interested in track days, it'd be the Corvette all the way. But for me, I really wouldn't be taking either of these cars to the track. There are better options for that at this price point, and so given that, I think I'd probably go for the Supra. I think, anyway. That's what I think, but what do you think? Which is the one that you would put in your driveway or take to the next SCCA track night? Let us know your favorite in the comments below, and while you're down there, tell us which two cars we should pit together next.